friends. Welcome to Left of Straight Podcast, where we are doing one of our special correspondents. Back with us, I'm so excited, is David Reddish in studio with me. David was my special entertainment correspondent for quite a few months back before the pandemic. David's an amazing author, editor, and done so much great work and been on the show so many times. David, welcome back to Left of Straight Podcast. How are you?
Thank you, Scott. I am doing just fine. I am keeping cool. We're back in a heat wave here in Los Angeles, so I'm trying not to leave the house.
Yes, we finally got to meet in person on my big gay road trip, and it was a little warm out there in Palm Springs in Southern California.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Well, I'm glad to have you back. We will talk a little more about your career in the end here. I mean, fantastic publisher of 4 books, an upcoming author of a new graphic novel, fingers crossed, and freelance editing, looking for different opportunities there. So that's exciting. But what do you want to talk about in your first segment back as our special correspondent on all things entertainment?
Well, I'm so excited to be back. For today, I thought we could look a little bit further ahead to the rest of the year and give our readers. I'm used to talking about readers. We could give our listeners a little clue as to one of the movies that they're going to be wanting to check out this fall. It's already getting a lot of awards buzz. It's called Queer. And
like the title already. I like it.
Great title, right? It's directed by Luca Guadagnino, who directed Call Me By Your Name and Challengers and the remake of Suspiria. Extremely talented director that loves a good homoerotic story. He loves sexual tension in everything he does. Queer is important because it's based on a novel by William S. Burroughs.
Right.
I don't know if everybody's familiar with Burroughs. He is not only one of the quintessential queer authors, he was a key figure in the beatnik movement of the 1950s, a close friend and contemporary of people like Allen Ginsberg and Jack Kerouac and Neil Cassidy. His best-known work is probably a novel called Naked Lunch, which is a great title, right?
I love that.
Naked Lunch, one of my favorite books, and this is going to sound like a strange recommendation. It is the only book that actually almost made me throw up while I was reading it. I had to get up. I had to run. I thought it was coming. It felt like it was coming. I did not. But then I sat back down and kept reading the book, whatever that says to you.
My goodness.
It is a visceral, surreal novel about drug hallucinations and homoerotic fantasies. And it's very hard to describe and do it justice. There is a film of it by David Cronenberg, but it's more about Burroughs as a person than it actually is the book. To put this in a little bit of perspective, this is a fun anecdote. So when I was, I want to say, a junior in high school, there was an alumnus of my high school that was convicted of double murder. My English, we were great. My English teacher had him as a student and mentioned in passing that he read Naked Lunch when he was one of her students, and it disturbed him. He couldn't get through the book because it was too disturbing. This is a double murderer. So this is the kind of writer that William S. Burroughs is. He gets at something in a gut way that I don't know that any other writer I've ever read can do. Queer is
definitely more Kerouac than I thought. I was thinking, okay, it sounds like a lot of similarity when I was reading a small bio of him. It's like, okay, kind of like an Armistead Maupin, not like an Armistead Maupin at all.
No. Armistead would look at him and go, dude, calm down. You're too intense. As many writers would. I mean, Burroughs is very, very hardcore and doesn't hold anything back. Queer is another of his novels. It's a semi-autobiographical novel, as many novels tend to be. It's about a man named Lee, who is a recovering heroin addict, and he's an American expatriate. He's traveling all over the world, and I believe while he's in Mexico, he meets a young, hot, gay heroin addict named Eugene and proceeds to fall head over heels in love with him. And the book is basically the story of their love affair, of how they travel around together and all the temptations and eroticism that exists between them. The movie is getting a lot of awards buzz for Guadagnino, who's already had a great year with Challengers, and for Daniel Craig, who plays the lead. He plays the lead in the film. Drew Starkey plays Eugene. But so far the buzz is all about Daniel Craig, that this could be his first shot at getting an Oscar nomination for Best Actor, which would be a very big deal. Obviously, he's a beloved star. People have been watching him now for 20 years in the movies. He's no stranger to queer characters. He's played queer characters in the past in the Knives Out series, for example. And he's also said that he loves going to gay bars because the men don't get in fights there, that everybody's just really, really nice and the music's better, which is true, as many of our listeners will already know, as you well know.
Exactly. Right.
So here's what's interesting. Queer has screened one time, and it was in a rough cut form that ran 185 minutes, so well over 3 hours. Very long movie. I know Guadagnino did different edits of the film, trying to cut it down. The early buzz around it was that it was fantastic, that Daniel Craig was incredible in it, but that the scenes of sex and drug use were... they made the movie almost unreleasable. They were maybe just a little too intense for most viewers. So the movies had trouble finding a distributor. It is, however, opening at the Venice Film Festival next month and is widely expected to play Toronto, which is also in September, which for you awards junkies, Venice and Toronto are the two film festivals you look at. This is what's going to predict what the big Oscar nominations are coming next year. That happened for Judy. That happened for Call Me By Your Name. It's happened for A Star Is Born. So many movies. Joker, the movie buzz starts with these film festivals. The awards buzz starts there. So everybody's very excited to see the film. I know Guadagnino's cut basically an hour out of it. It now runs just over 2 hours. I think about 2 hours and 15 minutes. And it's getting a lot of great buzz, as is Challengers, which was a modest hit earlier this year. I'd say this could be the year of Guadagnino. It could be the year he scores the Best Director nomination. He might score 2. The last time that happened was with Steven Soderbergh, who had a great year releasing Erin Brockovich and Traffic. Both of those came out in 2000, were both major hits, and went on to win. Julia Roberts won Best Actress for Erin Brockovich. Both were nominated for Best Picture. And Soderbergh was nominated for Best Director, I think, for both movies, which is wild.
I think so, yeah.
He actually won for Traffic. So we could see a double Guadagnino nomination this year. I would say Zendaya is probably the front runner for Best Actress right now for Challengers. So, and now there's all this buzz about Daniel Craig and queer, and it would be another great chance to see a great queer story brought to the screen. So
I love that. You kind of you hinted at it that you were probably going to go there, so I did some look, and I've loved Daniel Craig forever anyway, and I really did like the Knives Out performances. I thought it was just over the top enough, but still some great acting underneath it. So I'm really looking forward to see how he does in this type of a setting. Very, very interesting. It sounds amazing.
I think so. I met Daniel Craig actually for the first Knives Out movie. And he said that he based that character on Tennessee Williams. I don't think that that's how Benoit Blanc, that's his name in the Knives Out movies. I don't think that the character was written that way. I think that's something Daniel Craig brought to it, which I think is really cool. And they, by the way, incidentally, just wrapped on the third movie, which should be out, if not later this year, then next year sometime. I don't remember what the actual release date is.
I can't wait to see what happens at the festivals. I mean, this is my first year in Galecca, the gay and lesbian entertainment critics. You've been in it for quite a while. Yeah. So usually I'm on the other side of it, right? I see what happened after Toronto and after Venice. But getting a lot of screeners and getting a lot of buzz of everything before as part of Galecca has been kind of fun. And this is kind of exciting to see what will happen in these. Is there anything you're really... I've always wanted to go to Toronto Film Festival because it's only about 3.5 hours for me, 4 hours for me. So I'd really like to go there. I just have to get my passport. I never needed a passport before, but since COVID, it's a passport involved.
Always get your passport. Toronto is magical. The film festival is absolutely wonderful. We could fill a whole hour with some of my anecdotes about meeting people up there and seeing some of the movies. The Canadians are just really warm and friendly people, very accommodating. And they've got it figured out, man. They've got the healthcare, they've got public transportation, everything's clean. Toronto's a fabulous, fabulous city, and the film festival is just a fabulous experience. I recommend it to anyone who could possibly attend.
It really is. I mean, I've been in love with Toronto for a long time anyway. I lived in Buffalo for 6 months. And so it was right. I was 13 miles from the border. And it's when I'm old enough to say the exchange rate was good on our side. I got like $1.50 for every buck there. Yeah. So I would go across to Toronto and it would almost pay for the hotel, the exchange rate in there. And a great laid out city, great theater there, great great place. Obviously, a great gay district over at Young Street and Church Street and everything. So, yeah, that would be amazing to go to.
It's wonderful. Maybe we should, next year we'll plan to broadcast from the Toronto Film Festival. We'll see who we can get to do the show with us.
I think that's a great idea. I think we can do that. We can make that happen. That would be amazing.
So the other big news this week, and it is drama, so everyone gird your loins, be prepared. This gets a little icky. There is more drama surrounding X-Men 97. In case you have been living under a rock.
Such huge buzz going out, then all of a sudden it's been a little controversial the last couple weeks.
Oh my gosh. X-Men 97 got universal rave reviews earlier this year when it premiered. It's a revival of the 90s Saturday morning cartoon, X-Men. And the big deal was that most of the original cast came back to reprise their characters. The story is following the same continuity, but they brought in adult comic lovers to really amp up the storytelling, to make it a little bit more adult, and to integrate more elements from the X-Men comics. And the showrunner, a man named DeMeo, was openly gay, black man, openly gay. He wanted to bring a more queer sensibility to it, which he did in spades. They have non-binary characters. There's a lot going on. The show is fabulous, and everyone should check it out. However, anyone familiar with the show also probably knows DeMeo, the showrunner and head writer, was fired just prior to the show premiering by Disney Marvel. No one has said why he was fired. Neither he nor Disney have commented on this, but the termination agreement that he signed when he left the company said he could not do any press for the show. He could still be on social media and comment on the show that way, but he would not be allowed to do any kind of interviews or press promotions for the show.
Right.
That has not stopped him from showing up to various conventions. I've been there. I've seen him. I've interacted with him. He does show up. I don't think he takes to the stage at all. I know he's been going to certain fan events coming out. And recently, this is where it gets icky, he started to kind of imply that the reason he was fired was maybe because of his sexuality, or maybe because he maintains an OnlyFans page. The OnlyFans is the famous content platform where people can pay to see their favorite naked models or not naked models get naked, or see, pornographic content. DeMeo has maintained he never has done anything nude or particularly lewd on his OnlyFans. It's all just sort of bodybuilding. He's a bodybuilder. Big, jacked guy. He's maintained that it's about body positivity and, his fitness journey. However, there is conflicting reports that have emerged that sort of speak to this. And this week, his lawyer issued a statement that has alleged... So let me back up a second. A couple weeks ago, he revealed that because he was posting fan art of himself as X-Men characters in honor of Pride Month, Disney was removing him from the credits of the second season of the show. The show was very well received. They'd already planned a second season. It was all written. It was partially recorded and animated. And so DeMeo was going to be credited for that, even though he would not be returning for season 3 or season 4, which have already now been announced.
Right.
So he is now saying that Disney is actually removing him from the credits of season 2 because he was posting this fan art of himself as Cyclops in like a G-string and, or a little bikini bottom. Homoerotic queer fan art. He said he did this in honor of Pride Month. Disney says
on regular Instagram or on his OnlyFans?
This was on Instagram. Good question. Okay. It was on Instagram, and I believe also on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it. Thank you, Elon.
Right.
I believe he also posted it there. I've seen it. It's not sexually suggestive, in fairness, but Disney says that violates the terms of his termination agreement. Now, this week, DeMeo and his lawyer have clapped back at Disney, saying that he was pressured to sign illegal NDAs, that this is infringing on his right of free speech, and that essentially he was possibly wrongfully terminated. The statement had some very interesting wording, saying that contrary to rumor, many reports have been written about this. All of them point to the rumor that Bo was sending nude photos to staffers, and that he was verbally abusive, and despite being gay, made a lot of homophobic comments, specifically bottom shaming, referring to bottoms as disease receptacles, as spreading disease. I'm assuming that means he's a top or a side. I don't know. I guess for the point of the story, it doesn't
Or
really
just
matter.
a random self-loathing gay that we run across from time to time.
It's really unfortunate because Bo, and I want to emphasize this, Bo is extremely talented. He's written for The Witcher. He's written for a number of other series. I know he contributed a script to the upcoming Marvel Blade film. He is an incredibly, incredibly gifted writer, incredibly talented man, which is why it's so frustrating. It's like that famous clip of Tyra Banks, like on Top Model. We were all rooting for you, Tiffany. We were all rooting for you. It's like, we want Bo to succeed. But the stories that have come out about him are that he was sending these nude photos to staffers, that he was sexually harassing staffers, and that he was creating this toxic, abusive work environment. Bo and his lawyers have released a statement denying that he ever sent nude photos to direct reports. That's a direct quote. The quote is to direct reports. But what's interesting about that is it doesn't deny that he was sending nude photos to people on the crew who were maybe not his direct reports, or who were maybe lateral colleagues, or who were maybe people he didn't interact with. It's an interesting way to word things, for sure. The other thing that we have to say at this point is that naked photos of Bo DeMeo have begun circulating on the internet subsequent to his firing from X-Men 97. There is some dispute as to whether those appeared on his OnlyFans or whether he may have sent them to people. It's not entirely clear right now, though what's interesting to me is that he continues to deny that he has ever put nude photos on his OnlyFans. This is, by the way, why I will not send nude photos on the Grindr or anywhere else to potential liaisons, boyfriends, dates, what have you. I'm told it's why I'm single, but I'm sticking by it. So yeah, there you have it. It's interesting to me that Bo is coming out about this. I think it's sad that the show has been as well received and he's sort of been denied that victory lap, because as a writer, creator myself, that is something so sweet when you work for years on a project and you put your blood and your sweat and your tears and everything you got into it. It's nice to be able to enjoy the reception if it's a positive reception. There's something really comforting about that. So I do feel bad for him on that level. There are, however, other reports that emerged from some of the other shows that we've been on, including one from a source that I have that is well placed on a show called The Witcher that he used to write for, where this person, I'll quote this source directly. This is unfortunate. I've never, what is it? Everyone here seems to have PTSD over him. I have never heard tell of a person more hell-bent on self-sabotage and bridge burning. That's pretty damning. And this is from another queer person of color that works on The Witcher. Again, I'm not going to mention names, but it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate.
I mean, I remember all the buzz when it was coming out. I remember he had a lot of good press in the beginning for being an openly queer man and everything, and being the runner of this series. And it's so layered too, because you think, first thing you think is the axiom, any press is good press. So it's like, if he's doing tasteful photos and he's talking about this, he's doing it for a show he's created, you think that'd be good buzz. So Disney's like rearing its little ugly homophobic head that we've talked about in the past, right? That can be problematic. So it's kind of layered that way. But then as you get deeper into it, it's like, ooh, cringing a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I guess having worked for Disney myself in both human resources on the studio side and the legal side and the creative side, I can speak to this a little bit. What was so curious to me when he was discharged, when they parted company, was number one, that they said he was fired. They didn't say this was creative differences, that they were parting company, that they were thanking him for his contribution and saying he's moving on to other things. They were explicit that he was fired and that there had been an internal investigation that had turned up, in their words, egregious findings. They have not been clear about what those findings are. So if I was to speculate, I would say somebody went through the proper channels there and reported that he was probably, we don't know for sure what it is, if it was sexual harassment, if it was just verbal harassment, a toxic workplace. Somebody, I'm guessing more than one, somebody went to Disney. There was an official investigation about it. And whatever it was that he did, it had to be something pretty severe because Disney did not say what it was, which leads me to believe it may have been sexual harassment. We've seen other shows or other films, for example, where someone connected with it has been accused of sexual misconduct, and the movie ends up shelved. You know, Kevin Spacey did a Gore Vidal biopic for Netflix that will likely never be released because of all the stories that have come out now about Kevin Spacey. Disney did not want this to happen to X-Men 97, understandably. And the show is terrific, and it involves a lot more creativity than just the contributions of Beau DeMeo. There are many gifted people working on it. So I think Disney did not want... I think part of the reason they did not say why he was fired was maybe because they thought it would hurt the show. So they made it clear they were firing him, but were sort of discreet as to why. I think whatever happens next, if there is real legal entanglement about this, if Beau DeMeo is filing a lawsuit against Disney, which it seems like he may be moving in that direction, we may learn more, but I don't think it will end happily for anybody.
Right. It doesn't sound like it.
No.
And with the entanglement of the OnlyFans, like you said, who knows who screen captured those pictures and used those to black. So you don't have you can't get any context not being there, right? Without really knowing what they were or anything. It's very hard to get that context. And good luck getting Disney. I mean, what did we learn the last couple of weeks? That someone trying to sue them for a park ride, but because they signed a Disney Plus contract, they can't sue Disney and other things. I mean, Disney's pretty good at lawyering, I think.
They have... I know the Disney lawyers. They're extremely talented, extremely intelligent people, and they are pit bulls. I don't envy anybody who has to go up against them for any reason, even if it is justified, even if they are in the right.
Amazing. Well, David, those are two amazing stories. Is there anything else hitting your hot button this week that you really think we need to talk about or get out there?
I mean, those are the top two stories from where I sit. I know our listeners will have a lot to say, a lot to think about, having heard them. So I think that's a good place for us to leave it for now.
I agree 100%. Guys, you can always comment on any of the social media channels for Left of Straight. David, be sure to give them your social media so they can respond to you directly. And if they have any questions, they can reach out to you as well or give you their comments as well.
I am the Gay Magneto, also an X-Men fan. I am the Gay Magneto on Instagram. That's all one word. You can find me there. You can send me your comments. You can check out my pictures. You will not find nudes. And I'm happy to interact with all of you. And by the way, Disney, Marvel, Beau DeMeo, if you're listening, we would love to talk to you. So please feel free to reach out. I would love to sit down with you. I know Scott would agree with me. We would love to talk about it, everything on the show.
We will give you whatever platform you want, however long you want. We will definitely get into it. I agree 100%. Guys, if you haven't checked out any of David's book yet, be sure to go ahead and check out David. Give him the links. I mean, you have these 3 amazing trilogy books based on Comic-Con.
That's
you
right.
have your Sergio Bacchus book that's on, I think, what's a 10th year release or something?
10 years, yeah. It's amazing that it's been that long. The Passion of Sergius and Bacchus is the title. It's a wonderful historical romance. And then in terms of pop fiction, the Sex, Drugs, and Superheroes trilogy, all of these are available at fine retailers. You can find them on Amazon on my writer's page. The Wrath of Comic-Con, the most recent book in the Sex, Drugs, and Superheroes trilogy, my most recent release, that is available in hardcover on Amazon. It's also recently, just in the past week, come out on Kindle, an electronic copy as well. And the audiobook, we are waiting for final approval before we release it. That should be coming in the next couple of weeks.
Fantastic. Well, David Reddish, welcome back as a special entertainment correspondent right here on Left of Straight Podcast. Guys, Dave will be on at least twice a month, so be sure to look for that. And reach out if you have anything you want him to cover. If you've had your... David has contact just about anywhere, so if there's anything you want to hear some scoop on, I mean, we got our own little Michael Osceola, right? You can talk to anybody just about. I like it. All right, guys, you've been listening to Left of Straight Podcast with our special entertainment correspondent, David Reddish. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Left of Straight Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website for contests and other news and information. See you next week.